Welcome to the September 4th, 2018 episode of Reactive Consciousness, the in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And...
Dracologist.
Whoa, welcome back.
I'm honored.
I'm glad that you're back, so you can tell us about your favorite Teletubby character.
Perfect.
I don't know. Which one is that died first?
I don't think any of them died.
Well, I don't have any then.
You clearly haven't followed the series as it went on.
You know what was
Obviously
something
not.
interesting about that series is they made 365 episodes so that like a parent could watch them every day with their child.
That's something that most parents probably love.
So anyway,
Brain bubble gum. Something for
Finally, a Saturday. There surely won't be any. Oh no!
finally a leap day.
Yeah, right. Once every 4 years, you get one day.
So, we on Reactive Consciousness have a couple great things to talk about. I wanted to talk about an experience that I had this weekend with Minty Mitts, Old Man Stompy, my girlfriend, and myself. We actually went to what's called the Game Masters exhibit at the Franklin Institute, which is a really cool interactive museum in Philadelphia. And this experience is ending this week. So it's really cool that we got a chance to see it. Just to give you an idea, they did this museum portion right. Like, they picked a lot of touchstone games in video game history, and also corroborated with a lot of creators. Like, there were exhibits based on parts of the exhibit were based off of like certain creators, like the guy who made Deus Ex, for instance.
Oh, nice.
What's his name? What's his name?
Was it John Romero?
No.
John Romero,
that was a Doom guy.
No.
Well, he's half right.
Because John Romero was who formed Ion Storm, and Ion
Correct.
Storm made Daikatana and Deus Ex.
Interesting.
Yes. So it was Warren Spector. I'm sorry. So anyway, they had Tim Schafer section. Like they had different sections. They had a Will Wright section. They had for the Sims games. So it was a really good exhibit in that they had concept art. They had all the games were playable too. So I'm glad that they actually did this, so that you could actually play the games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the games as art or as a piece of cultural history are not the same by like turning them into a video, for instance. That takes away the thing that makes them special. Their medium.
I just wanted to say that you just invalidated Lotus' work so far.
Oh, how so?
turning video games into a video. This is what Lotus has been doing for a while now, I think.
No, but
Yeah,
you know
but
what he
that's
means,
something
like a
different.
showcase
Yes,
versus like a
I'm
literal
just
full
being
playthrough.
cheeky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they
Although
set it up so
I mean,
that
it
you
is
could
true.
experience-
My stuff really is like a plan B, to be fair, but it is what it is.
I mean, your experience that you're setting up is supposed to be a passive one, and people know what they're getting into, and people already know about the medium. This is meant to be something for people that need an introduction to the medium, or want to know more about it, or want to show their kids, or show a loved one. So or learn some facts about it. So
Well, yeah, well, especially regarding their place in history, because it just doesn't have the same effect when you see commercials on TV for God of War 4, and then you're
Yeah.
like, let me show you when I was a kid, Streets of Rage 1, and like the kid won't be impressed anymore. Like, part of the experience is that this was new. That's part of why Shenmue, for example, was so iconic. If that game came out for the first time today, people would get mad at the controls. Even today, people are like, with the controls and the slowness,
Yeah.
but like, even though it wasn't the most well-received game, because like people got hyped and then they were like, oh, but it's all slow and kind of janky, like, it still was extremely ambitious for the time.
So yeah, just to give you for instance, they did have a a setup of Shenmue 2 playing on a 360 because
Yeah.
when this exhibit started, Shenmue 1 and 2 collection HD collection had not come out. So
It's the
so
Xbox
play-
release on a 360.
so yeah, exactly. The backwards compatible
Yeah.
Xbox version on the Xbox 360 is what they had set up. Now, a whole lot of people weren't playing that. However, they were playing like the old Sega games from the Genesis. Like people really gravitated towards that rather than Shenmue.
Well, Shenmue, especially the early game. To be fair, I don't know about Shenmue 2. I do hear it's different. But like Shenmue 1 early
It's
game.
a lot more action oriented. The second one.
Okay, because I was gonna say Shenmue 1 early game just isn't fun. Like you're like
Yeah.
looking around your room, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. But the thing is though, it's probably better that they had the Xbox version anyway, because you can't talk about gaming history with the game that came out 5 minutes ago. It is a slightly different experience.
Yeah, but I think if they were, it would have better camera control, so it would be like a better thing to show off for the uninitiated.
That is true, but it like I guess it just depends on what your preference is. It would make it more palatable, but it also wouldn't be a historical exhibit. It would be like Streets of Rage on the Genesis versus Streets of Rage on like the PS4 Sega collection or something.
Well, they did do that with a couple of the screens.
Okay.
So in some of the screens, they did have Genesis's set up, so you could play Sonic 2, Sonic 1, Streets of Rage 1, and they even had a Master System set up so you
Wow.
could play Alex Kidd.
Wow.
You could play.
I'll take your word, man. I didn't grow up with those, even though they were around.
And they also had a Nights into Dreams, running on a Saturn, which was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's another
That's
iconic
nice.
game that I just couldn't get into.
Yeah.
I wonder if they have any Commodores in there.
No, you know what? They
Oh,
pretty
come
much.
on.
That's
pretty
more of a
much-
European thing. Even though we had them, it was more of a European thing.
I was just gonna say they ignored European history pretty much. So
Yeah, you're missing out a large portion of video gaming. To be honest.
We are, but like we wouldn't get it. Like the ZX Spectrum was a big freaking deal, but like every single American would be like, "What the hell is this? This game was not around for me."
even the Commodore 64 wasn't as big. In America as it was over there, and the Amiga very much so. The Amiga was much more popular in Europe. So I could see where you're coming from, but I think for the purposes, this was a mainstream exhibit. There wasn't anything too obscure there.
Yeah, it would be like if Japan did a historical test and like they did not bother including the original Xbox. Like I don't think anybody would miss it.
Yeah, exactly. Even though it is a hugely important touchstone on online console gaming.
That's true.
So without the Xbox, we wouldn't have the infrastructure that we have for online console gaming now.
Yeah.
And that was all started with the original Xbox and maybe the Dreamcast as well.
That's
You
true.
can
Like
make a case for
Dreamcast
that.
and PS2 had online, but it wasn't the same.
Well, Dreamcast really was the one that was like the early adopter. There was stuff before that, like SegaNet for the Saturn and
But like that existed, but like Halo plays like you'd expect it to play now.
Yeah. So Halo 2 was
Slow.
the big game
Well.
that got people to start playing online with a console. Halo 2 specifically. So after that, but in Japan, even it still wouldn't be as big of a thing, I think. So
Yeah.
they would probably rate playing PSO on Dreamcast as a higher margin.
Well, because they actually did that. Like
Yeah,
Xbox
exactly.
is Xbox, like the one esoteric farm collecting nerd guy had that, I guess.
But anyway, so what they had there in the very beginning, it was pretty cool. There were roughly about 15 to 20 arcade machines. Not a whole lot. That wasn't
Nice.
the major part of the exhibit. But they showcased several touchstones. So there were two games that were by the guy who made Pac-Man.
Ooh.
There was Tempest. There was Missile Command. The guy who made I'm sorry.
So was Missile Command the one where you have to defend the town from the just invading missiles?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then like you can't win; it's just inevitability.
Well, yeah, and it was the first game I believe that said game over.
Okay.
When
And by the
you
way,
die.
just this is a slight aside, but isn't it amusing that like we're still getting Tempest games? Like Tempest 4000 is out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
what?
it's the only one that's still actively being worked on from that era of like Atari games.
Yeah, there was Atari,
played-
then there was like the fucking new one that no one knows exists. So I guess Tempest is dead. Like, oh wait, no, it's on like PS4.
Just play Taurus Trooper.
Yeah, Taurus Trooper's great, but I actually like TXK. I think TXK is probably the pinnacle of that type of game. Though there is a fan-made like Tempest 2000 remake that is apparently really, really awesome. I forget
nice.
what it's called. But I need to check that out. But overall, it was really cool. I mean, there were things that were noticeably absent. So there was absolutely no Konami stuff in the whole thing.
That's
None.
That's surprising.
There's no Nintendo stuff.
Like no
besides-
Castlevania 1, like that's mind blowing.
None. There wasn't even DDR in it.
Could be for copyright reasons.
No, it definitely was. There, you could clearly see where all the holes were. So there it is specifically one NES or one Nintendo title, and it was the Cabinet of Donkey Kong, and that was it.
Not even Mario. Come on.
Not even Mario.
How-
Mario
come-
was not included.
Mario I read a few years ago that I think Mario is more recognized across the board, or at least more popular than Mickey Mouse, because Mickey Mouse owned America for a long time, but like now we know who Mickey Mouse is, but we're not watching Mickey Mouse cartoons, you know, like
Sure.
it's like everybody, even your mom who doesn't like video games and calls every system Nintendo, even she knows the Mario theme, the first few notes.
Yeah.
Everyone knows the first few notes.
So
Well,
yeah, I mean,
most in the US, because we played what we played was the reskin versions of Giana Sisters. That was
Yeah.
the Mario.
yeah. So I did want to say, you know, what they did have there, which was cool. They tended to have, you know, it looked like it obviously was people that had cooperated, you know, with the exhibit. So there were, you know, things like Capcom games were missing. There was no Street Fighter. Street Fighter's a big deal in
Street
video game
Fighter,
history.
yeah, Street Fighter 2 is like the progenitor of like every fighting game, as like every fighting game that we actually play, like as we know it. Without Street Fighter 2, we would still be doing one hit to knock the opponent down, and that's it. There would be no combos.
Yeah. And I did like what they did with the sim part. So when you move to Will Wright, there was the original SimCity and SimCity 2000, and they
Yeah.
were on their respective machines.
SimCity 2000, like I know SimCity is where it all started, and a lot of people have nostalgia for it on the Super Nintendo. But SimCity 2000 is so good. Like that game is freaking brilliant.
Yeah, and you could play some Peter Molyneux games, like you could play Populous, for instance.
You said they had Dungeon Keeper, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
That game. Again, I never played Populous, but I know it was popular. But Dungeon Keeper is the shit. Like that game holds up. The original Dungeon Keeper from the 90s, like
Sure.
you can play that now, and if you ever played it back then, you know how, like, have you ever gone back to a game and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this isn't like Dungeon Keeper holds up. Like, it feels the same.
I bet.
Yeah.
Yes, well, until they decided to completely ruin it with by
Some-
Yeah,
Download
no,
it.
no, no. I'm talking real Dungeon Keeper. Fuck that EA iOS bullshit. No, I'm talking like Steam and GOG Dungeon Keeper, or if you have the disc, like it's actually the same game. It's great. I never did play Dungeon Keeper 2. I heard it was good, but not quite Dungeon Keeper 1 good. But Dungeon Keeper 1 is freaking legendary.
And what else did they have there that was interesting? Like I said, they had a Tim Schafer thing. So what was cool about all of this stuff was that, you know, as many video games as that I have, my girlfriend only ever sees the video games that I'm playing at a given time. So she's missed all the games that I've played in the past.
Yeah, she'll see like Horizon Zero Dawn and like Enter the Gungeon.
Yeah, exactly. But so like there was a lot of stuff where she went, "Wow, this is really cool," and I was like, "Yeah, I played that 10 years ago." And
Yeah.
she's like, "I want to play that now," and I was like,
Yeah.
"How come you've never shown this to me?" It's like, "Well, I played it a really long time ago, but I own it. You know, we could play it."
Oh, see, no, I have the reverse phenomenon. Like, I play Nier, for example. I'm done with it now. But, like, I'll turn
Yeah.
on Nier, and when the title screen comes up, it says copyright, like, 2008 or 2009, and I just feel old immediately upon turning it on for the first time.
Well, you know what was funny is the games that she gravitated towards were like a lot of the artistic games. So
Yeah.
she really liked the Mizuguchi section. She played Rez and
yeah.
Child of Eden and liked playing those.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, I don't think she would. I don't know if she would enjoy actually playing it. Maybe watching it being played. But you said Tim Schafer. Did they have Psychonauts?
Yeah, they had Psychonauts there.
Because
They-
that
Oh,
game,
that's a good
like
one.
that game does not play artistically, but boy is that an artistic game.
Well, she's also a Jack Black fan, so she liked the art and stuff that they had there for Brutal Legend. Which
Oh,
was
they had
pretty
Brutal
cool.
Legend. Okay.
Yeah.
Brutal Legend, though, the thing with that game is if you're a metalhead, you will love that game to fucking death. But
Oh, yeah.
from what I heard, there's a lot of references that'll just go over the general population's head. Like,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a lot of really clever, like, kind of jokes that I don't know.
But yeah, like she liked going by the harmonics part, where they had
Sure.
like
Guitar Hero?
rock band stuff.
Oh, you're
they
right,
also-
Rock Band, yeah.
They also had Dance Central and Amplitude and Frequency there. So
They had
that was
Amplitude
all
and
neat.
Frequency.
Yeah.
Those games are
they had
kind of
they had
overlooked
Frequency.
now.
Yeah, they had a station playing Frequency, which is
Wow.
really neat.
I remember
had-
Luminaire had Amplitude back in college, and I thought that was fascinating.
They also had a section where they had the guy from who made Parappa the Rapper. That was
Oh.
there. So they had Vibrib in there too, which was pretty neat.
That's actually surprising because
Yeah.
like, I mean, with the Commodore 64, it's like, that wasn't really popular here, but like we did not have Vibribbon until like last year or 2 years ago.
So I guess they knew how popular. My guess is that they got a lot of cooperation from Sony because there was a lot of Sony first party stuff there.
Okay.
Including there was stuff from like Shadow of the Colossus and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. How could you not?
SingStar. They actually had a booth for SingStar, so you could sing karaoke.
Oh.
And that was like the PlayStation karaoke game for the PS3.
Yeah.
And that was really popular in Europe, especially, but it was pretty popular like out in North America too.
Sure.
But there were a lot of like Sony first party stuff, so they were probably like, well, if you're going to show Parappa the Rapper, because a lot of people recognize Parappa as like an early PlayStation game,
Yeah.
or as a PlayStation game that was popular, you might as well put Vidrib in there as, you know, a little section for him, you know, and him only.
Yeah, Vibribbon was cool because, like, the game itself had like 3 songs in it, but the whole gimmick was you could put your own audio into it, and it would make like a level based on your audio tracks. It was freaking sweet.
Yeah, it was that game's a lot of fun. It's very difficult,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of fun.
Like, I remember when you first showed it to us, I forgot if it was you or if it was Pyrojack Frost, but you put in like the Danganronpa opening theme. You know how freaking weird it was, like playing black and white lines and curves Vibribbon with like a 2000 what 15 16 like soundtrack playing on it. It was like, yes.
That's awesome.
It's like almost like audio surf, isn't it?
Yeah, it really
yeah.
is. Like you put in whatever track you want, but it's amusing because this is like just an old PS1 game that looks like it could have been on a system that even
Like a
predated the PS.
Vectrex.
Yeah, actually, yeah. What didn't it
looks
actually?
like it could be on the Vectrex.
Yeah, but and you're playing like dang it, like this was obviously not designed for it because it didn't exist yet and wouldn't for over a decade, but it worked.
Well, I'll tell you the game that got her interested the most was actually Flower for PS3. It was in there with a showcase with the other games from that game company, which is the name of the company that made those three games. They had Flow, which was the other one,
And Journey.
which was their first game, and Journey. But she really gravitated towards Flower because it's kind of like a laid back experience. So,
I could think of some games on GOG that she might enjoy then if she's into that kind of thing.
well, it was just pretty cool because she's not a gamer, so like having her explore what her tastes are,
Yeah.
was a good thing.
The only one of those I ever played was Journey, and it was even like when you do online interactions, it's a very laid back experience because that game is like pretty much impossible to troll in, and the only communication you have is just like a generic
Ringing a bell.
yeah, pretty much. So like it can be assumed that either someone wants you to go over there or they're thanking you. Like that's I don't know what else you could interpret from that. So it's pretty well done.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I didn't see anything new there for me, but what was cool was going through with somebody who had never seen it before.
Well, that's the whole thing. If you're
yeah.
our age and you've been playing games, you've probably heard of, I don't know about all, but most of these, and a lot of them actually are available easily enough online at this point as well. But, like, I can see this being incredible for newcomers or for, like, your kids or something, who would also be newcomers. But it's like, how many people still have their freaking Sega Genesis? So, like, this would be a really cool opportunity.
Plus, this is like a good opportunity, for me to go to something that's in the public's eye of, geared towards stuff that I like.
Yeah.
So, it was a great experience. We loved doing it. It was a lot of fun. I want to move on, though. There were a couple announcements that were really, really cool in the gaming world. First of all, being SNK's 40th anniversary collection that's coming out on the Switch.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
So we went over this a while ago, and there is a lot of content that they had already announced, and it is so like what they're releasing is like very comprehensive.
Yeah.
So they're releasing the arcade versions and NES versions of all the games that have those.
And I actually really appreciate that because in collections I've seen, you usually get one or the other, and it's not even across the board. Like I have Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection. It has both versions of Altered Beast, but it has only the console version of this game, only the arcade version of that game. So it's cool to see like a range, but to be able to compare every time, like that is very much appreciated, especially when you kind of forget that there was an arcade version, or if it's really hard to find, like original Shinobi, like Master System versus arcade.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and they play different, and in some cases they added content or stripped away content or
even
did something different.
Well, yeah, even different angles. Like one of the things that really stands out to me, and again, this is not SNK, but Golden Axe. When we played Golden Axe at your place, when we Let's Played that game, we did the arcade version on MAME, and one of the big things that stuck out to me was that when you're riding a dragon buddy, if you move diagonally up or downwards, their sprite adjusts accordingly, but they only face horizontally in the Genesis version.
Gotcha.
And little things like when you're walking across the eagle, it blinks in the arcade. Not in the Genesis. That's not going to cripple gameplay, but it's just little stuff, that's just kind of nice.
Well, they are being completely comprehensive in this. This game is curated by Frank Cifaldi, who works for Digital Eclipse and Backbone Entertainment. I forget what they're called now. I think they're Backbone Entertainment. Now, he was the guy who handled the Disney Afternoon collection for Capcom.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah. Okay. That was like the Aladdin and
PC.
Chip and Dale. Yeah.
No, it was Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers 1 and 2, DuckTales 1 and 2, and Tailspin.
Oh, excuse me. Aladdin
and
was
Darkwing
released.
Duck.
Yes, my bad. Aladdin was released on PC, but that was a different thing. That was like Aladdin Jungle Book and stuff like that. Yeah.
That was Aladdin Jungle Book and Lion King.
Okay.
But that was handled by different people. That was on GOG.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a different collection anyway.
But he also did the Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2 for Capcom as well. So they hired him to curate the emulation for this SNK collection. Now, what's cool about this is that the Neo Geo games have been steadily getting re-released on Switch. They've pretty much re-released every notable Neo Geo game, and if they haven't, they've announced it.
No Cyberlip, no deal.
Cyberlip has been announced by Hamster.
Are you shitting me?
Yes.
That's incredible.
So I'm telling you, every notable game without any rights issues
That is fucking ridiculous.
has been announced.
Give me Iron Snake. I mean Metal Slug.
They have up to Metal Slug 4, I think, right now. So they have Metal Slug X, Metal Slug 2, Metal Slug 3, and 4, I think. So
And 5.
I think the only one left is 5 on the Neo Geo, because 6 was a Thomas Wave game. So and 7 was a DS game and PSP and Xbox 360. So
And there was that horrible turret defense game.
yeah. The 3D game. Yeah, is that what
I
you're
don't
talking
know.
about?
Well, it was some sort of bio progression type of game.
Oh, the cell phone game. The cell phone game, is that what you're talking about?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so they actually released that on Steam. You can play that on Steam now.
No, I won't. I will not touch that with a 10-foot barge pole.
Yeah, but what I think is really cool about this collection in particular is that the games that are pre-Neo Geo hardly ever get any love. They're very seldomly ported. There is some games were made into minis on PS3, so you could play like them individually, but they've never been really treated super well. So all of these games are getting released with multiple versions, and they just announced that free DLC is coming out with more games.
Nice.
Now, I've never heard of any of these games besides Satsuki versus Commander. However, there's Chopper 1, Fantasy, Munch Mobile, and Time Soldiers. Now, I don't know these games. However, that is perfectly fine with me. Not knowing them is part of the fun.
Yeah.
So what I like about this is that they're releasing super obscure stuff that I don't even know about, and I want to explore. They've also they've announced how they're handling the control methods, especially for Ikirai Warriors 1, 2, and 3, and Guerrilla War. So these games were actually played with a rotary joystick.
Yeah.
So you would be able to move up, down, left, and right, but you could also twist the joystick in order to rotate your character. They're going to have multiple options, but one of them is like a dual stick mode, where you can, which will get around that, which is really neat.
That is convenient, much
Yeah.
more convenient than gimmicky.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think TNK3 also has that. So this will be great. I'm very excited for this. All of the vertical cabinet games are compatible with the Flip Grip, which is coming out, which is a project that...
The what?
So the Flip Grip is an accessory that's coming out by Jeremy Parrish of Retronauts fame. He is making a shell that you could put your Switch into that will allow you to play the games vertically, and
Oh,
also
I
still have
remember
your
this one.
controllers on the sides. So it looks really cool, and I believe it's coming out pretty soon, and it's relatively inexpensive. I think it's $15
It's a
for that
love
flip
letter
grid.
for the K fans.
What's that?
It's a love letter for K fans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. For anybody who plays shmups or anything, there are lots of games that actually have vertical arcade options for the Switch now. So it's exciting that this will be something that'll be compatible with that. Actually, a lot of the companies are working with him and saying, "Hey, yeah, we'll support your peripheral." So that's really neat. And let me see here. The only other thing that I quickly, and maybe you'll have a little bit more to say about this, Lotus. Binding of Isaac Repentance was just announced. So
Yes,
there's
I
a little
think I
bit of a
showed this.
background to this, right?
It's basically anti-birth.
Yeah, there was a really big mod for the Binding of Isaac, like at least like a year ago, maybe more, called Anti-Birth, and it was just a whole other experience with the game. I never played it, but it's like it was a whole game in and of itself, and it's going to be incorporated into the Binding of Isaac Repentance. So the mod is now canon, if that makes sense, but there'll be achievements tied to it and everything like that, plus whatever else Repentance is doing.
So I believe that's a really clever name because I think the reason why they called it Repentance is because the devs got really like upset and disappointed that their game wasn't going to work with Afterbirth Plus. So
Yeah.
I think Repentance is the dev saying they're sorry for crushing their chance at distribution and things like that, widespread distribution. So I don't know much about this mod in particular. What makes it
I
that
do.
much different? Can you explain?
Uh, it's a whole new map levels, new enemy, new type of enemies, brand new items, the usual stuff. But uh, just basically, there is an enemy that is a sort of remake of the Heart and the Mask, and you just have to
Oh, fuck that thing.
see it. Oh, you have to see well, if they convert it to repentance at its full glory,
Yeah,
it is amazing. Like it is just like there are sometimes bosses you want like you just want to see what it's going to do next.
yeah.
You just want to see its attack patterns.
Yeah, like Mega Satan did that for me. I was like, he still has attacks I haven't seen?
But it's not just that, like, 'cause I'm going to shoot bullets differently. Like, one of its attacks, for example, it's like the heart and this large metal mask is connected via chain, and the heart spins around
Oh.
the heart spins around the mask and throws it at you like a flail.
Okay, so that's almost like Master Hand and Crazy Hand in Melee, where you think they each have their own set of attacks, but then all of a sudden they clap or something, and you're like, oh, like little weird things like that.
Yeah, there are a lot of things like that. There are a lot of map-related gimmicks. For example, I think the mines level have little rail carts that monsters ride off occasionally,
Oh, that's
and
clever.
and in the mausoleum there are like you teleport between various uh, like two sections of the map,
Okay.
and there is also complete a secret area that you can access
Nice.
using by you have to open various parts with like you have to collect three pieces of a secret item and then use it on a special spot, and you can access a new type well, basically a new sequence of levels.
Yeah, that's almost like how you unlock Mega Satan. You gotta put the two pieces of the key together and then make it to the end.
Yeah, it's really good. It's and it like you have to see the amount of enemies the game has, and it's like the detail put into it is splendid, actually.
Excellent. Now, actually, one thing I'm curious about regarding Isaac Repentance is this going to be a separate game, or is this going to be more additions to Rebirth? Like Afterbirth was just more stuff on Rebirth?
I think it's, and I only know it's a DLC, paid DLC. People are a little bit iffy about it because the mod was free, so people are a little bit angry that it will be, you will have to buy it
Oh, I see.
basically.
Yeah, the mod was free, but now you got to pay for it to be official.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So,
Well,
but so
about
I
that,
assume you won't need to buy it if you already own, the Binding of Isaac, right?
uh, it's paid DLC,
Oh wow,
yeah, like so I
that's
guess
a
like
first, I
like,
think.
like Afterbirth
no,
Plus.
it's not the first. The Binding of Isaac, Wrath of the Lamb, and I think Afterbirth was paid, but like Afterbirth Plus came free.
Okay, so
Um,
I'm not really mad about this kind of thing. Usually they're, usually first of all, it's a ton of content. So like
oh yeah.
if it's a ton of content, I want to pay these people for their
Yeah,
work.
and this stuff's usually cheap too. Like Wrath of the Lamb was dirt cheap, and it added like 100 hours
I
to
was
my
gonna say
play.
it's like $5 to $10 usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For this kind of thing from Edmund McMillan, and he's been always pretty good about like the amount of content.
Yeah,
Um,
even after Afterbirth Plus, there were those booster
Yeah.
packs I didn't know about until
Actually,
later.
actually, I think like this. Some people say that the anti-birth content was better than Macmillan's.
well, I believe it,
Well,
but
I can
at least
believe it
we're
as
getting.
far as Afterbirth Plus was concerned, because that was when they were just like greedier mode. It's greed mode, but do it again. And it's like son of a bitch.
Also, I think like Lotus. I don't know what to do. Like I don't know exactly what the DLC is going to do, but I hope that Lotus Worry is going to dissipate. About like he has to start all over again.
Well, not start all over, but like what I'm afraid of is that when Antibirth comes out, it's like when the booster pack DLC came out, there were some achievements that were like destroy 30 portals. So when I opened the game after the booster pack was installed, I immediately got that achievement because in my plays I had done that by that point, so I retroactively got the achievement. So I'm hoping if the anti-birth stuff does stuff like that, then I collect what I already would have unlocked anyway, because it's a real bitch to have done something very hard, but it didn't count that time. You know, like Metal Gear Solid 4, now it has achievements. All that cool stuff you did, no, well now you got to unlock the achievement. You know, like that's just frustrating.
Yes,
So,
but
oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that one of the bonus characters you get is Esau and Jacob, and it's basically you have to control two separate characters. Like they move together, but if you hold down a button, you can separately move one of the characters,
Oh, that
and
sounds
they have separate item pools.
Oh, that is a little different because I was gonna say that sounds almost like the Forgotten, except you switch back and forth and play as one of them at any given time.
Also, I think you can play as multiplayer with them. Like there is a sort of multiplayer mode if you play with those.
That's fair enough. I mean, Isaac's had some kind of multiplayer for a while.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited for that, and I'm excited to hear about you guys talk about it because like
Yeah,
that's always a big topic
yeah,
on
you'll.
Econ and CoreCon.
I was gonna say you'll never hear the end of it from me, and probably Old Man
Oh
Stompy
yeah.
will find out. Speaking of which, even as far as the booster packs are concerned, I only have like 5 or 6 achievements left. Just yesterday, it was either yesterday or today. I'm already forgetting, but I got the achievement that was like get 10 tiers up upgrades in one run. That was a bitch. I'm glad that's over. So like,
Oh god.
yeah, basically basically go to greed mode and just keep restarting until you get the item that duplicates a pill's effect. So you don't expend the pill, you just use that item instead, and then just keep buying batteries to recharge it and just keep using it over and over again and don't die.
Oh, Antibird actually has like there are how do you call those machines? One-armed bandits,
Oh yeah, the slot machines.
slot machines,
Yeah.
and there are like energy slot machines. Like they
Oh,
give you an energy for a coin, and in random,
interesting.
and they actually give you random pips that like they can give you one or actually give you like four.
Okay,
I don't know
okay.
what's the numbers, but yeah, there are a lot of stuff.
Cool.
So, If we don't have any more to talk about there, I did want to quickly mention as well, in the same vein as this, I kind of forgot to mention this in our show notes. But did you guys hear that that the final expansions for Shovel Knight are coming out? Did you hear about this?
Oh, that was like the King Knight one, right?
Not only that, but they're adding a showdown mode. So they're adding a King of Cards expansion where you play as King Knight.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also adding showdown mode, which is a fighting game 2D mode.
Okay.
Where you could play as characters that have not been playable before, which is really neat. Like you can play as Shield Knight, for instance.
Interesting.
You can play.
You can play as all the boss knights, I think.
But can you play
you
as
can-
the Trouble King? That's what I want to know.
But
and you can play Shovel Knight in Blade Strangers.
I know
So-
Shovel Knight
right.
is showing up in all sorts of games, just like not playable in Smash.
So I just love this because they've been adding steadily to this game, and they have not charged anybody who bought it in the very beginning for any of it, which I find fantastic.
Yeah, rewarding loyalty.
Oh, and I don't know whether I told you this or not, but I said before that the PC version is the one that is least worth getting because it doesn't have any exclusive content.
Mm-hmm.
They added the Battletoads into the PC version.
Oh,
so
so now it's on the Xbox and the PC.
Correct. So actually, the PC version is worth getting now if
Okay.
you don't want to buy an Xbox, which
And for the
perfectly
record,
understandable.
and for the record, the 3DS had some kind of amiibo support,
Yes. So it's 2-player mode.
and the Wii U has that as well.
Yeah.
The PS4 version has a Kratos boss fight.
Correct.
Ooh.
So all the games have, and I believe the Switch version also has the amiibo support as well.
That would
Which
make
just makes
sense. Yeah.
So still all really cool. I just wanted to mention that quickly because they also are coming out with 3 more amiibo for the series, which it will be the Plague Knight, the King Knight, and the Spectre Knight.
Spectre Knight, that's gonna be a cool amiibo.
Yeah, they're the stars of the 3 DLC packs.
Yeah.
So I thought that it was really awesome that they continue to make content for this single game, and they basically only want people to continue to buy the game if they haven't bought it already in order to get it. You can also pick up all of these games separately, all of the DLC and regular games separately. So there's multiple ways that you could play this. But the full game is called Shovel Knight Treasure Trove.
Right.
So if you started off with Shovel Knight, if you started off by having Shovel Knight, you have Treasure Trove.
Yeah, that's pretty
But
rad.
If you're buying it on Switch, you have a lot of options. So you can buy Treasure Trove, which is absolutely worth it, tons of content, or you could buy the individual modes by themselves. So I thought that was really cool. And I think Dracologist does have some other games to talk about here as well.
Yes. I do want to mention Stinking City. I saw it, which looks like LA Noir meets Lovecraft, basically.
I'll take
neat.
it.
It had a really intense trailer, and the gameplay looked a little bit quieter. It was interesting that you have. I think what I liked was like aside from that, you do the whole scan the area with magic eye mode and check everything out. There was an interesting archivist mode where you have to use various points of information to search for a specific type of info. And like again, it's a Lovecraftian setting. What's not to love?
Yeah. I think that'll look. I'll look forward to that. I'm assuming that's going to be on Steam.
I didn't check the platform, but I think it will be on Steam too.
Okay, great.
And I think it will be on the Switch. I don't know if any of you heard of the Liar Princess and the Blind Prince. I just stumbled into the trailer of this game and I found it a little bit adorable.
I've heard the name.
Yeah. And
It's a V. What I can tell you without spoiling anything is that it looks like a game that a mixture of Little Mermaid and Ico.
oh wow.
Interesting.
So basically, kind of like a game where you lead somebody around is like
Yes. Should I tell you about the basics premise or something?
Well, I
Because
guess you're a mermaid leading around the blind prince.
no, and not a mermaid. Basically, a girl that is actually a really big monster.
oh wow.
Oh.
The should I like the basically the premise is set in the first that should I tell it, spoil it, or something, or
No.
should
If
I
it
be
involves spoilers, then no. But it sounds interesting.
no? Well, it's basically told in the first 20 minutes of the game, the whole story.
Gotcha.
But it looks very adorable and interesting. And I'm just curious, because I couldn't understand because it was in Japanese. I did not understand what the story was talking about, and I just have vague ideas on what's going on.
Sure.
Well, that sounds great as well. I'm looking forward to that. I know there have been a couple reports from indie developers saying that their games have been selling like multitudes better on the Switch than on Steam, which is hard to believe.
I can't believe it because in Steam they are drowning in drag.
Yeah, I think their algorithms are bad and they're not picking out the cream of the crop type games. There's a game that's very similar to Zelda. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Princess Blossom or something like that. It's not It'll Do. It's a game that it's kind of similar, but it's starring a girl protagonist, and it's very similar to Zelda, and it's definitely a bunch of Zelda homages.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It sold 4 times better on the Switch than on Steam. And it's a really good game. It's not like a bad game by any stretch, or even a mediocre one. It just got drowned out by I guess a lot of direct now, and that's a shame. That's a shame that this is happening. There should be. I really like the curator's idea that they had going,
help.
but it doesn't. It's not doing its job, and I don't think enough people are active with it, which is a big shame.
It doesn't help because curation doesn't help if you are drowning in drag.
I mean,
And if
how are you supposed to discover anything if there's too much garbage coming out?
well, there's the Steam Guard.
I don't know.
It's a Discord group. They are how to put it? Basically, they constantly feel they basically doing intense curations at best. Like they trying to do their best what they have.
Gotcha.
They also research the lousy developers to see if they are doing something shady. Like if you heard that last time people are started to hide cryptocurrency miners into their fake games.
That's ridiculous. Wow. Wow. I would think that I wouldn't pick up anything that would have anything like that in it. Like I don't ever pick anything up that hasn't had some bit of word of mouth at least. So but that's a shame. That's a shame that stuff like that is going on. Oh, and Lotus, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with you lately.
Yeah, I mean, only very briefly. Just I've been, this kind of piggybacks a little bit off of what Dracologist was saying earlier, but I've been getting into something of a Lovecraft kick because I've been playing a bunch of rounds of the board game Mansions of Madness with our friend Luminaire, and that's a really clever tile-based board game where you have tiles for various rooms of a house or areas outside or whatever. But what's cool is that you don't just put down the whole board like in Arkham Horror. You only put down the tile that you're in when you start the game, and then when you open a door, you put down a new tile to show what that room is, etc.
So it's like a roguelike almost.
No, there are scripted scenarios. But you like slowly unveil the places you go. But the game does clever things with it. Sometimes like a mystical force will affect everything, and you have to clear the entire board, and you're in a new place or dimension now. Or there was the first mission we ever did was we had to stop some evil from happening before this maelstrom appears in the sky and destroys the house. And as each turn went by, it was like remove like a room of the house from the board. So like it's literally like the world is disappearing around you. It's like just really super clever stuff like that makes things very entertaining. And
that sounds radical.
it really is.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, and it is very possible to beat the scenarios, but if you waste too much time doing frivolous things, which is possible to do, you can investigate things that don't matter. You can pay for it later. Like you'll miss an opportunity to do a thing, or too many monsters show up depending on the scenario. The last bunch of scenarios we played only had like 1 or 2 monsters in them toward the end, but they were big deals. But the earlier ones we played just had us fighting a bunch. And meanwhile, I also started playing on PC, originally released for Xbox, I think, of Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth.
Yeah,
and
that was released simultaneously on PC and original Xbox. Yeah,
I guess that makes sense. Like it's Bethesda, so PC makes
I
sense.
saw a walkthrough of that. It's an alright game, although there is a lot of points where you are getting chased across that you have to do almost picture perfect timing on certain things.
Yeah, I went through one of those where there is like a right way to escape, but it's still super engaging. Surprisingly,
one of them happens at like the very beginning of the game, actually.
Yeah, that's the one. Surprisingly, I have not played many Lovecraft games. I think this is it. And like, I guess you can count Eternal Darkness, although it's not officially Lovecraft, but it's close enough.
But it's inspired.
You could talk about Alone in the Dark as a Lovecraftian game.
Guess I've only played the new Nightmare though, and that wasn't really Lovecraftian.
Games.
Yeah, the old.
I'm talking about the old games.
Yeah, that I haven't played. Ones. But I've only really played, as far as Lovecraft stuff is concerned, Call of Cthulhu and Eternal Darkness.
There are 2 adventure games, I think.
Yes, on GOG. Yes.
Yeah, on top of that.
Yeah, Dracologist.
I wanted to. That Penumbra and Amnesia: Dark Descent is actually.
Oh, that's fair.
Lovecraft.
That's fair. Okay.
Lovecraftian. Full on, actually.
That makes sense. But from what I've heard, Call of Cthulhu is the most like authentically Lovecraftian game, and I gotta.
Obviously.
Well, I mean, there are more than one actual, like a game that has an actual Cthulhu or Lovecraft in its name, but apparently Call of Cthulhu is the most like legit one. And from
Cthulhu saves the world? You don't think that's authentic?
Yes. No, but
it's a good comedy game though.
But from what I've played of Call of Cthulhu, that game really is like it looks like it's trying to embed itself in the lore. One of the first places you go in the game after the prologue is Innsmouth. And I'm not going to describe what Innsmouth is, because if you don't know, then, I
you don't want to be there. But you don't want to be there, though.
No, I mean, to be fair, you don't want to be anywhere in any Lovecraft story, but, like, Innsmouth sucks. Let's just leave it at that. So, like, so when I heard, like...
Is that where Dagon is?
Yeah, there's stuff involving Dagon there.
Okay,
so, like, that's one of those stories where, like, when it was established in Chapter 1 that I'm going to Innsmouth, I was like, in the beginning, like it was like when I was playing Silent Hill Origins in your college dorm, Vice. Like I was giving Silent Hill Origins a shot, and I discovered that the hospital was the first dungeon in the game, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" It was like that.
Like, well, actually, I think. Anyway, yeah. Never mind. Also, there is a game called, I think, Darkness Within 1 and 2, which is very Lovecraft oriented. It's more of a puzzle game, like Myst.
Oh, never mind. I was thinking like The Darkness, but I guess it's something else.
No. Yeah. No, Darkness Within.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know that one.
No, like the band The Darkness.
And I guess Darkest Dungeon also, like, dances around that. Yeah.
Well, you have to play those.
I've played a little bit.
I know you said that you didn't like the torch system, but
I hate the torch
a little
system, but
prac-
basically everything else about the game seems cool.
actually, like you just have to buy torches, and like there are many. Like follow a YouTuber who is professional in the things, and it's a joy to watch him.
Hmm.
And also the amount of luck when he pulls off stuff that is amazing. Like when he like free shots at the sort of these mid boss monsters.
Nice. I mean, I might pick up
Like
the game when it's cheap or something.
it's good, and there is like modded characters for it that are actually fun. Like someone actually made the Doomslayer as a kind of playable, recruitable character for the game.
That's
Oh,
amusing.
speaking of Doom news, did you hear about what happened with Doom 2 like yesterday?
Nope.
They found how to trigger the very last secret of Doom 2. Like
I don't know what
everybody
that
thought.
means.
So there was a secret in one of the levels
Uh-huh.
that nobody knew how to trigger.
Oh, like outside of like clipping codes or something?
Correct. They thought it was a bug, but it wasn't a bug.
Okay.
And John Romero's like, you didn't know what to do there.
That's funny.
Like he's just
Which
like
one?
laughing at people the whole time.
Which level? Which level?
I could look it up for you, but I don't know it off the top of my head. But I will look it up. But while I'm doing that, I'll explain what you need to do in order to trigger it.
Oh, boy.
So, there is a bunch of portals in this level, and the portal is supposed to get triggered by walking over it. Well, this
Yeah.
portal would never triggered that when you walked over it. What you need to do, this is on map 15. You need to get an enemy to knock you into the portal.
Oh, fuck off. By the way, what's the name of the level, do you know?
Industrial
Level
Zone.
15.
Yeah, but like they all have names.
Industrial Zone.
Oh, Industrial Zone? Okay, I don't know if I remember
That's
that.
that's the level where you have to go to you can go to the secret level.
Yeah, so you gotta be pushed by an enemy into it.
That's ridiculous.
There's this video of this guy, like, goading this, I think it's a pain...
Elemental?
Elemental to
Well, that's the
push him into it.
flying brown head that shoots skulls.
That's it, yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So, it was finally discovered, and they assumed it to be a bug, but it was not.
That's
and,
insane.
John Romero did comment on it.
Nice.
So he said, "Congrats! After 24 years, you were the only one that could get to 100% in the game."
Nice.
So it's pretty awesome. The guy who found it was Zero Master, to give him credit here as well.
Nice.
So really
What
neat
a
stuff.
weird thing.
Yeah. So I think
Honestly,
that,
I do prefer the Memento Mori map packs over the basic Doom levels. Far more easier to navigate.
Yeah, I mean, I only play classic Doom, but I will say that some of those levels are like when they really get heavy with the puzzles, it can just be plain frustrating. Like you've already killed all the enemies, you're just wandering around and wondering what switch to press and what it activates.
No,
that's like in Dark
I think-
Forces. That was a big problem in that game too.
Oh,
Yeah,
ooh,
especially
please
level
don't let me
2.
started.
Level 2, yeah.
Yeah, level 2.
And Doom Eternal, I think, not Doom Eternal, what I'm talking about. In Doom 2, I had a lot of map packs, and my favorite is Memento Mori 2. Like, there are, like, little things, like, one of the levels is, like, it's a sewage plant, and you go up to one of the doors is blocked by, of, like, this waterfall of corrosive stuff, like the green slime stuff.
Mhm.
And you go to a console, you see this, like the center of the room, this pipe that constantly have this green flow of green stuff flowing through it, like it's a waterfall size sort of stuff. And if you press a button, the flow shrinks down, so it kind of indicates that now you can go through.
That's actually, yeah, like Doom never really did that, so that's kind of clever.
Huh. Well, I do want to. There's plenty of stuff going on here this week. More than I thought initially, but I do want to wrap up our discussion for today, so we can move on here. So that is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions, and that is the wrong script. Please remember to subscribe
You're
to
fired.
the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. And I will read plenty on Thursday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I come up with all of this off the top of my head every week.
Wow, impressive.
It's impressive that I continue to mess it up. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on PSN, Steam, Xbox Live, Twitter, Switch, and Battle.net.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you're interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, choosing upcoming games for me to Let's Play, like I'm doing Shadow Man right now, or getting involved in a Discord server with me and other patrons, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me on Skype, Steam, and of course at Discord at the layer of the crocodile squirrel, because just beware of the squirrel.
And it's your username, Dracologist?
Yes.
Perfect.
It's a Dracologist everywhere.
All right.
Okay, great. Well, we will catch you on Thursday, everyone.
Until next time, everyone.
Good afternoon.